Next on 9 News, closing arguments wrapping up in the first trial for the death of Elijah McClain. Now, a jury will decide the fate of 2 Aurora police officers.
A popular LGBTQ bar closed up shop, citing more homeless encampments in the area. Now other nearby establishments worry it could soon be their turn.
And a local scholarship fund helps students to be able to go to college.
I had a scholarship to go anywhere that I wanted, and my life changed.
Now that nonprofit is looking for more help. 9 News at 4 starts now. Breaking right now at 4 o'clock, Aurora police arrested a teen in the death of a 15-year-old at the Southlands Mall parking lot a couple of weekends ago. Police say the 16-year-old boy turned himself in yesterday. On September 30th, Raphael Valine was shot and killed. At a news conference yesterday, police said they believed 55 different suspects may have been involved and said multiple teens or young adults were on that scene that night and firing their guns. Police are not releasing the name of the teen they arrested because he's a minor. He's being held on charges of second-degree murder and aggravated robbery. Investigators are still trying to identify other suspects. If you have information, call Metro Denver Crime Stoppers. And just within the past hour, the criminal trial involving 2 Aurora police officers in the death of Elijah McClain reached a crucial point. Closing arguments are about to wrap up, and then it will be up to a jury to decide what should happen to Randy Rodema and Jason Rosenblatt.
The 2 officers are facing charges for reckless manslaughter and second-degree assault. Jeremy Hohola listened in and joins us in the studio with a rundown of what just happened. Jeremy?
Yeah, that's right. This case is about to be in the hands of the jury after more than 2 hours of closing arguments. Prosecutors say it's clear the officers' use of force contributed to the death of Elijah McClain, while the defense team here says it was the ketamine overdose given by paramedics. Officers Randy Rodema and Jason Rosenblatt have been on trial for the death of Elijah McClain back in 2019. They are 2 of 5 people who have been indicted in this case. McClain died after police stopped him. He was leaving a convenience store next to his home in Aurora. Somebody called 911 claiming he looked suspicious. Police confronted McClain, who wasn't committing any crime at the time. Police grabbed McClain and threw him to the ground. They put him in a carotid hold, which is like a neck hold or a choke hold. Prosecutors said during closings, the evidence is clear. Their aggressive behavior escalated the situation with McClain and contributed to his death because he suffocated on his own vomit while wearing a mask. However, the defense team pointed to medical experts who testified, saying it was the ketamine overdose from the paramedics that killed McClain.
It didn't have to be that way for Mr. McClain. In this case, the defendants are guilty of serious crimes because of the way they handled Mr. McClain and the choices they made that evening. There's no doubt that these defendants caused the injuries to Mr. McClain because they knew what was happening to him and they failed to act.
There's no evidence that Randy Rodema caused Mr. McClain's death. None. 0. All three medical experts say it was the ketamine that killed Elijah McClain. You heard from Dr. Boother, the primary cause of death was ketamine, a 1.8 times dosage, and he said it's more likely than not he would have survived but for the ketamine.
Closing arguments are still going on in court. Next up, this case will go to the jury, who will then decide the fate of the 2 officers here, and it's anybody's guess how long this could take him. It could take 15 minutes, it could take days. We'll see what happens.
And yet one of the other officers goes on trial later this week, and then we also have the 2 paramedics in this case.
Yeah, 5 people total indicted here.
All right, thank you, Jeremy.
After 10 days on the run, an inmate who escaped the Jefferson County Jail was captured in Commerce City. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office says Jeremy Buchanan escaped jail on September 30th. Buchanan was working in the jail's kitchen when he left the building through a delivery door and hopped a fence to escape. Officers arrested him yesterday from a trailer near East 53rd in Quebec in Commerce City. He's now back in jail facing new charges of felony escape, misdemeanor escape, and violating his parole.
There is more help coming for the crews recovering bodies from a funeral home in Penrose. The Colorado State Emergency Operations Center is supporting Fremont County and CBI with the cleanup. Crews have begun removing the more than 115 bodies improperly stored at the Return to Nature funeral home. The SEOC is providing additional resources and staffing to assist the Fremont County coroner. CBI says a tip line set up by the Fremont County Sheriff's Office has already received more than 120 contacts from family members about the removal process.
Roads are back open in Colorado Springs today after a train derailment shut down a 3-mile stretch of East Las Vegas Street overnight. CSPD says the derailment happened yesterday, not too far from I-25. Police say about 10 cars ran off the tracks, each carrying 2 or 3 military vehicles, big equipment like Humvees and big trucks. We don't know what caused the derailment yet, but police say no hazardous material or weapons were involved in that crash and no one was hurt.
Well, let's take a look outside on this Tuesday afternoon. There's still a lot of green trees around the metro area, but things are changing, Kathy. The weather is still gorgeous, and they're changing weather-wise, too.
Yeah, you can almost tell, ladies, with those clouds coming over the Boulder Flatirons, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it feels like fall, too. Like, even in the mornings, I feel like you have that cool air. You know it's on the way.
Little taste.
It's definitely jacket weather in the morning, for sure. It's about to get a whole lot colder, Angeline. We have a storm system that we're tracking off to the west. It's going to bring some big changes to us the second half of this week. We start the week, though, with mild, dry weather, lots of sunshine. Temperatures this afternoon above average in the upper 70s and lower 80s. Good travel weather on I-70. But this storm will bring snow to the high country in the next 24 to 36 hours. Hard to believe when you see 78 in Denver, 83 in Lamar, 66 in Eagle, and 62 today in Steamboat. Temperatures running way above average. Pretty dry, so we actually could use this moisture coming in. Something else we're tracking is the winds that will be increasing out of the west. The westerly wind flow in advance of this Pacific storm, which will start to bring an increase in mid-layer moisture starting tomorrow. Tracking a secondary system down in the Gulf Coast region. That's another story that we'll be talking about in Maine weather in terms of the rain they'll be receiving there. But this system coming in from the west could bring up to 6 inches of snow to the mountains. Windy, rainy, colder weather to the Front Range, and our first freeze possibly Friday morning and again on Saturday morning. And there is a rain-snow line we've got to watch very closely right along that Colorado-Wyoming border and right over the northern Front Range foothills. And we do have a small window where you may see 1 or 2 little snowflakes right here in Denver. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting week. Today, beautiful. 70s right until sunset with a few clouds out there. We do have that colder weather coming. We're going to break down the snow forecast and the timing of the rain for Denver just ahead.
More businesses in downtown Denver say homeless encampments are making it harder to stay open. Triangle Bar off 20th and Broadway closed its doors last week, and now others worry that they could be next. 9 News reporter Rachel Krause spoke to the Mercury Cafe, who hopes the city will make some changes.
Just so unfortunate.
Over at the Mercury Cafe, owner Danny Newman
Exactly.
is used to welcoming in all types.
It's just the best creative place in Denver.
But lately, bringing those folks in has gotten harder because of what's happening outside their doors.
The last 6 months became something different. It was more aggressive, just scarier.
Homeless encampments, a frequent sight in this area of downtown. But Newman says suddenly sidewalks were welcoming in a different crowd.
You know, real drug use and selling, real prostitution, real illegal activities, real, stuff that was not just people surviving.
Hiring off-duty officers at $90 an hour did help, but Newman says bookings for private events have dropped 70%. If traffic doesn't pick up, he worries how long he can stay open.
We downsized quite a bit. We kind of are bare bones on all fronts right now just to try to survive.
They're not alone. Triangle Bar, just a block and a half away, closed last week, citing massive drops in traffic from homeless encampments. Neighboring businesses struggling too.
Yeah, we're all very much in the same boat.
Walking outside, suddenly there's hope.
This is a cleaned up part of the neighborhood, and truthfully, it really is actually incredibly cleaned up from what it has been.
Newman says nearly 2 weeks ago, the city cleaned up the tent city that had been here. Newman says it's the first time he's seen that happen in the 2 years he's owned the Mercury.
I think keeping it clean, keeping it safe for everybody is a positive for everyone involved. I don't know what the solution is, and I don't know if anybody does, but it's a tough spot to be in, and I feel like our little island of businesses over here are struggling in a real way.
Now, Newman says he'd love to see the city stay on these cleanings and consider grants or loans for businesses trying to stay open. He says he supports the mayor's plan to bring in the homeless. He just wishes it would happen a little sooner. Now, I did reach out to the mayor's office about his concerns, and they tell me that their office is in regular contact with businesses to help get the homeless off of the streets and into housing.
Yeah, of course, when Mayor Johnson announced his plan, many businesses were looking towards them, and I'm sure they're still waiting for a reply.
Yeah, just hoping things can improve and that they can wait until then.
All right, thanks so much, Rachel.